Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered, Barbarian Build Guide for Pathfinder Society. Having decided that we're building a barbarian, the first thing we need to select is our ancestry. In this instance, we're going to go with a dwarf. Once we know that, we need to decide what the instinct is for our barbarian. Now, the chart gives a number of different dragon breath damage types. This is the additional type that we will deal with our attacks, as well as what we will gain resistance to at level 9. Now, if this isn't the same damage type that our weapon is dealing, then it's a potential that monsters could have 2 sets of damage reduction, one against the weapon's normal damage and one against the additional damage. If we take the adamantite dragon, its additional type is bludgeoning. So long as we're using a bludgeoning weapon, these combine together as a single damage type, and we will not be hitting resistances from monsters twice. Now, if we look at what we'll build for our dwarf, the first is the weapon familiarity to get access to the dwarven weapons. At level 5, we have Defy the Darkness, which gives us greater dark vision, meaning we can see in magical darkness. We aren't allowed to use darkness spells, but we don't have any magic anyway. But our allies can still cast darkness to give us benefit against monsters. Then at level 9, Mountain Stoutness is additional toughness, more hit points for us, as well as improved recovery when we've got the toughness feat. At level 13, Telluric Power means that we get to deal additional damage when we're standing on the ground, and frankly, we should be doing that most of the time. And at level 17, Stonewall, we can petrify ourselves for a moment to ignore the effects of an attack. This can be very useful at high levels. Now, our general feat, Player Core 2 has bought Robust Health, which reduces the cooldown time for a battle medicine, one of the best ways for us to restore our own hit points. It also gives additional hit point healing for both battle medicine and treat wounds. Level 7 we have Toughness, which leads into our level 9 Mountain Stoutness, and this pushes Fleet all the way to level 9. Now, normally, Dwarves' main disadvantage is their slow movement, so Fleet early on can be quite helpful. However, the remastered Barbarian now has an enhanced movement, meaning in combat, from level 3, we've got a 30-foot movement, which is enough to keep up with most of the rest of the party. Now, we want Canny Arcanum for our reflex save at level 17, which is why it drops into the level 15 slot. But it means for a couple of levels we could have an additional skill feat there and then retrain. And finally, at level 19, we have Incredible Initiative, or any other general feat that you want to round out the character. Now, dwarves have a flaw in charisma, but that works out quite well for our stats. It means we can have +4 in strength and +2 in all the 3 stats related to our saving throws. We can continue to boost just these 4 all the way to level 20, giving a nice +5 in all of the 3 stats associated with our saving throws. Although if you decide, you can put some of those into intelligence or even charisma, should you wish. Now, we mainly want to focus on strength, dex and wisdom skills, as those are what we have high. So our skills, athletics, acrobatics, deception, medicine and stealth. Now, deception may seem the odd choice here, but at low levels we can use the feign ability, which requires training, to make monsters off guard. That gives us essentially an extra 10% chance of getting a hit or a critical hit on them, which is better than doing a third attack. Also, if we do get a critical effect on deception, it lasts all the way through to our following turn. Now, feats, we can start off with Catfall. We want to pick up Battle Medicine, Assurance in Medicine, although at very high levels you can retrain out of that. Continue Recovery, which in a society game we're going to need to make certain that we can heal ourselves after every battle. We can't necessarily rely on the rest of the party. And also Titan Wrestler will mean that we can trip larger creatures than ourselves. If we look at level 20, we have just short of 400 hit points, which is fairly good given our base 12 hit points per level, constitution, double sort of toughness with the mountain stoutness, and the high number from our Ancestry. Our key feat that we want to get for level 6 is Reactive Strike. What the fighters have had since level 1. The ability to get an extra attack and potentially limit their spellcasters and attack monsters as they try and move past and get at the rest of the party. It gives us the ability to hold the front line. Now at low levels you can take things like Intimidating Strike to make monsters frightened, but for levels 2 and 4 I think we want to be looking at various archetypes. The first option is Fighter. The dedication itself isn't great since we've already proficient with martial weapons, but it does give us the ability to get Reactive Strike at level 4, essentially freeing up our level 6 class feat. Now Rogue can give us extra skills, mobility, which is what I've gone for on this build. That means that we're able to use our third action to move around, ignoring reaction attacks from monsters, positioning ourselves as required for making those reactive strikes. The other option is Blessed One, so we can have more healing, lay on hands, can take 2 feats to get 2 focus points. Now if you have a game with a free archetype, you can actually fit all these 3 onto a character. After that, level 8, we're going to grab Dragon Rage Breath, the other level 6 feat that we would like. This gives us sort of fireball level of damage once per combat as we breathe out with and then we can move on. At level 10 we're going to pick up Skill Mastery, so then by level 11 we can have all our 4 skills that we're focusing on being at Master. Now if we haven't picked up Rogue, there is also the option of Renewed Vigour, so we can have additional hit points, temporary hit points for healing, essentially each round to keep ourselves going. And then at level 12 we get the ability to fly whilst we're raging, enhancing our mobility even further. Now it's an action to activate, but we don't need to activate it necessarily the first round of combat. We can charge in, manoeuvre around and then spend an action to activate it later, giving ourselves even more mobility during the battle. Now if we move on to even higher levels, after that we have the Whirlwind Strike. Now this is 3 actions, so it can be slightly harder to set up, but you get to swing around and hit all of the enemies that are around you, so we'll definitely want to make certain we have reach weapons at this point. And after that, exactly what you'd want, be able to turn yourself into an actual dragon. So here we get a second breath weapon, a tail attack, which deals bludgeoning damage, so we continue to combine it with our bonuses from our class. We also get hands, meaning that athletics actions are easy to use again. We can trip and grapple with the dragon's hands whilst smashing attacks with our tail, and even still doing whirlwind with our tail. Level 18 we have the Brutal Critical. It's very straightforward, we're just dealing more damage. If we want to add something different, we could always go back and take the Blessed One archetype. And then finally, at level 20, we become an unstoppable juggernaut. We get resistance with our Constitution at +5. This would be 8 to all different damage types. And we increase our raging damage protection for piercing and bludgeoning to even higher. Now if we look at a final overview on that, we started with Sudden Charge so we can get into battle quicker. We have our Rogue Dedication to give us some extra skills and then mobility. Our Reactive Strike, we get our Breath Weapon, Skill Mastery, Flying with our Wings, a Whirlwind Strike, the Dragon Transformation, Brutal Critical, and then Unstoppable Juggernaut. We're legendary in Acrobatics, Athletics and Stealth, Master in Medicine, and trained in Deception, Nature and Survival. Although to be fair, you could pick any other skills you want for those last couple. Now, when we look at equipment, our Dwarven Weapon Familiarity has given us access to the Dwarven War Axe and the Dwarven Dawn Dagger, their flail. At low levels, using the War Axe, we can start two-handed with it dealing d12, but if we need to let go with one hand so we can triple grapple an opponent or perform battle medicine, we're still able to make attacks with it one-handed for d8 damage. Now, the downside is it deals slashing damage, so it won't combine with our bludgeoning damage from our dragon type. It also has the sweep trait, but we're not likely to make much use of that, and it's in the axe critical effects. Now, by the time we get to level 6, we really want to make certain that we've got ourselves the flail. This is a two-handed d10 damage weapon, but the two main things are it has reach and also bludgeoning damage, and the flail specialisation means that we knock opponents prone. It has the raising trait for doing extra damage to objects, but we're unlikely to make much use of that. Now, if you look at the difference, we can see with the war axe we're only able to hit monsters in the 8 adjacent squares next to us, whereas once we move on to the reach of the flail, we get 24 squares that we can potentially affect, giving us many more monsters that will be hit. We start with 15 gold pieces, and we can spend 13 of them to give ourselves a war axe, hide armour, a wooden shield, toolkit, adventurer's pack, and then a bowler and a club. Now, we're not likely to make much use of the shield, but if we know there's a tough fight going ahead, we could go in with the war axe in one hand and the shield in the other. We've also got the ability, we can throw the bowler. The club is useful if we come across skeletons. It's also another ranged weapon if we need to. And then going forward, the first thing we really want to get ourselves is the magical Dawn Dagger. Put striking runes onto it, the astral rune. Healer's gloves will give a bonus to medicine skill. The lifting belt gives us bonus to athletics, and then also a long bow, giving us a better ranged attack should we need it.